All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for our King George County Roundtable. Always great to hear about what's going on in King George. And before we get started, I would love to welcome our fabulous sponsor, Lauren Bruning from Topside Federal Credit Union. This is her second time with me today. So thank you, Lauren, for giving me so much of your day. And with that, I'll turn it over to you for a few moments.
Thank you so much. Awesome. So as part of FAAR, you're all eligible for membership with Topside Federal Credit Union. As a member-owned not-for-profit credit union, that means that we're truly here to support you. Each of our members has a $1 share of the credit union, and you'll see the benefits of being a member and things like our Youth Saves program, which is 5% on the first 500 until a child's 20th birthday, and our military saves accounts, which are 8% on the first 500, and as well as our everyday opportunities like our refinance loans for auto. We do 1% cash back up to $250 for auto refinances. We also, each weekend coming up, we're going to be having some fantastic deals. This weekend is our Black Friday deal. So depending on the length of terms for a personal loan, you can get 1%, 2%, or 3% off of your rate. And then the following weekend, we're going to have a 90-day no pay. So there's lots of benefits there. Of course, we are no stranger to the King George area. We were founded on the Dahlgren Naval Base 60 years ago, and we are still serving that area with our location on base as well as on 301 right next to the KFC and Taco Bell. We also have 2 locations in Fredericksburg, one in the Rappahannock area across from Publix, and one north on Route 1 next to Almonds Barbecue right across from the University of Mary Washington. If I didn't work at the credit union, I'd never walk into a branch though, because you can do everything right from your app or on mobile banking. You can actually set up bill pay, you can sign for a loan. So whatever your needs are, most of the time you can do it right through our online banking. We even we're part of the All Point Network. So there's 55,000 ATMs in the United States where you can get to your money without any fees. So that's a little bit about us. I will add my information in the chat in case you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren. We always appreciate your support. And since we're not doing this meeting in person, usually we would be sharing lunch or snacks with Lauren. So everyone who's present today will get a Starbucks gift card on behalf of Topside. So when you get it, it might be from my email address, but it's from Topside. So thank you for that. Yay. I know, Michelle, I'm so excited. Peppermint mochas for everybody at that time of year. Okay, so with that, I will go ahead and introduce our speaker today. I have had the pleasure of working with Nick Miner for many years now. He is the Economic Development Director in King George County, and there's always such exciting things going on in the FAAR footprint, and King George is certainly no exception. So I'm excited to hear what Nick has to talk about today. And please, you want this to be interactive, so if you have questions or concerns or anything, I'm sure Nick would be happy to answer them. So Nick, nice to have you with us today.
Thank you, Kim. It's great to be with you guys. It's always nice to be with you guys, actually. I love the realtors. I really love that group and what you guys do for the region. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. So I have a lot of, I only have 10 slides today, with one of them being, just questions, but I crammed a lot of information into it. So I'm going to roll through it pretty quickly. And if you guys have questions, please stop and ask, because everything is basically bullet. I love bullets. So as I roll through the bullets, if you see something and you go, I want to know more about that, just stop me and I will explain, or I'll go over it as best as I could, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and share here and open up the presentation. Oh, okay. So I'll just give, for those of you who are not familiar with the county, I'm just going to give you guys some quick overview. So the population increased from 23,000 to 26,000, almost a 3,000 resident increase over that 10-year period, which doesn't seem like a lot, but with a 1.5% growth rate, that's pretty good in compared to the rest of the region. Median household income, I'm sure everybody knows this number, is very familiar with King George's household income number of $94,000. You know, a lot of that is due to NSWC and the base. You know, their presence in the county really pushes that income number up. So you see a county as small as we are, as rural as we are, and you see that income number is pretty surprising. But if you understand the region and you understand that employer, you really have an understanding of where we are. About 488 establishments in the county. Total workforce is about 13,399, and our participation rate is extremely high in comparison to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I believe the region is right around 65%. So a little bit higher than the regional average. So I wanted to provide you guys just a housing breakdown and what we're seeing as far as what's being developed, and then what's under review currently by the Community Development Department. So there's Eden View, which is 33 single family homes that's awaiting construction. There's, everybody's familiar with the Hop Yard development. That's about 900 single family homes. It's our largest development in the county. There's currently 237 of those homes are under construction, with 199 that are currently under review. So that neighborhood is still building out. And I believe they started that project in 2005. So slow moving, but I think they agreed to build that out in phases. Oakwood Estates, which is off of 301, there's 88 single family homes there that's currently under construction. I believe they're almost completed. And then there's 59 single family homes for that same development that are currently under review. There's a Potomac Landing development right off the Potomac River off of 218 or Caledon Road. There's 59 homes scheduled there. That plan is under review. That development is pretty important to the county because that will be additional service authority connections. If anybody's familiar with King George, you know that our service authority really needs those connections. We need that revenue to sort of stand up that public utility from some of the challenges we've had in the past. There's Walnut Hill down in the Dahlgren district. There are 42 homes there. I believe that construction is on hold, but don't quote me on that. I drive by it probably twice or 3 times a week. I haven't seen a whole lot of activity, but I know that they are a go for construction, so that developer can start whenever they're ready. There's the Westbury Development, which is down in the Dahlgren district as well. It's 11 single family homes. That plan is currently under review. And that's another service authority connection down in the Dahlgren district. So our median home price is around $360,000. I think FAAR for that number. That came out in September. And then, for year to date, we're right around $341,000 for a median house sold in the county, which is, I think, 3rd highest in the region. So again, going back to, you know, how small we are in terms of population, you know, the county is growing. You know, you get pretty much a big bang for your buck, but that puts some challenges. And I'll just sort of go into like the multifamily housing side of it. It puts some challenges on the county from a multifamily housing perspective. You know, our firefighters, our policemen, our county employees, you know, that blue collar, what's the best way to put this? You know, that blue collar class really can't find housing in the county to live. And that's a struggle for us. So, you know, we welcome developers who want to build in the county. And we've had several meetings over the past 2 years or so with developers who are interested, the majority of them being in that Dahlgren district where there's density. It's just that, you know, how the county wants to and how the county plans to build out, I think presents some challenges to some of those developers because we're really looking for that development to not necessarily be near the base, but sort of steer that away to the 3 and 301 corridor in and around that courthouse area. We want to build that side of the county out. We'd like to prioritize building that side of the county out before we start concentrating any more development in the Dahlgren district. It's not that we won't entertain it, and we certainly understand why developers want to be down there, but it's a priority for the county to move some of that development more towards the center of the county. So Under current
Before
construction
you
right
move
now,
on, can I just
yeah,
ask a question? Sorry. So
please, no, please.
workforce housing, I think
Yes,
is a lot of the term that we use.
exactly, yes, workforce housing.
So when we first started working together, probably a decade ago now, King George the Board of Supervisors was fairly solidly in the no growth. They were not
Right.
very open to additional housing density.
Yep.
And certainly if you look at the difference between King George and Spotsylvania, I mean, there's so much multifamily housing in Spotsylvania and virtually none in King George. I understand the county's made a lot of strides, but what do you think? How is that view of housing density growth going forward, considering that the bridge is an inevitability and there's going to be a lot of interest in that corridor? What's the board's sort of thoughts on that?
So, and I'm glad you asked that question. So the county, the Board of Supervisors is definitely open to multifamily housing. Now they have some specific needs they want to see that developer meet, right? Which I respect. I respect that they know exactly, they almost know exactly what they want. They know how they'd like to see someone go about it. The problem is that developers are going to always take the low-hanging fruit. They want to work with the people that want to work with them, but that doesn't always match up with what the county's vision is, right? So what they're looking at as far as that Dahlgren district, they're going to be looking at a sector, basically a sector development, I believe is the term that they use. So, we want to build out this section of Dahlgren, build out this other section of Dahlgren, and be very targeted in how we do so. So the other part of that is looking at, so the other part of this is that we're limited by where we can develop because of our public water and sewer needs. So the place where we have the most capacity currently in the county from a service authority perspective is the Dahlgren district. But where we'd like to see that grow is near the courthouse area. So we're in a bit of a chicken or egg problem where, do we build it and then try to fix, the water issues, or do we fix the water issues and then build, and then welcome in the developers. So that's sort of really been the hang up for the county, because it's not so much no growth, it's just that do we have the capacity to sustain what we currently have and then going on into the future. So once we can address our water needs, I think that we would be a little bit more welcoming to the development, but you have to fix that water need first. The entire county is on groundwater, and we are severely limited from a state regulatory standpoint as to what we can and can't build, because we are given allocations almost on an annual basis by the Department of Environmental Quality. So I think when people say we're no growth, I don't think it's necessarily no growth as that we want to be cautious, so we don't overburden our systems and overburden the taxpayers. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but it's really complex. It's a lot more complex than I initially thought 2 years ago, right? I think 2 years ago, I was probably under the same mindset before I came to the county, that the county was no growth, but when it comes to housing, that is, but it's really not that. It's just a little bit more of a complex issue than I think we originally thought.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks so much.
Yep, thank you. So I'll just show you guys, these are just some aerials of those developments in the county. To the left is the Walnut Hill and Westbury Development. So I'm sorry, I should have zoomed in a little bit more, but Westbury is the furthest one to the right, or closest to the bridge development. That's right next to that commercial area and behind that other single family development that escapes me right now. And then Walnut Hill is closer to that Wawa, or that 206 and 301 development there. Oh, and then to the right is Potomac Landing. I'm sorry, I almost skipped it. To the right is Potomac Landing. That's right off of 218. So what they're planning is to develop the corner there between, I hope you guys can see my cursor here, but develop the corner here between 218 Caledon Road and the Potomac Landing. I forget the name of this road here. It might be Potomac Landing Drive here, where that area meets. So those plans are under review. So I'm not really sure exactly how they're going to build it out, but the minimum acres for those parcels are 2 acres. So single family homes. So next location is your Hop Yard development. that north side of the development is almost completely built out, if not completely built out. So where they're concentrating their development here is right off of Port Conway Road in this area here. They're building out these sections here. And then if you're looking at Eden, Eden Drive, this area here is, I believe, what's under review. And this area here is still under construction. And they are almost completely built out here. Those homes are going fast. And then this is the other section here that's not been done yet, but they have started to build out the entrance and lay out the lots. So then sort of getting into, so I guess I'll say this, right, moving back towards the housing side of things, I really don't get too involved with the housing, especially when I first got here. But as I start to see the county grow and I start to see the challenges that are faced with our workforce, it just becomes such an important topic to what I do as far as economic development that, you know, I'm actively looking for multifamily developers to come and see the county and see the potential. So, you know, I will facilitate meetings from time to time between Board of Supervisors and those developers, just to sort of doing it, just high level overview introduction. You know, here's company A, meet this district supervisor. You know, here's what this company is about. Here's what this supervisor would like to see, or here's what we think the county would like to see here developed. And those conversations help because then it sort of helps open up that door, or at least open up that dialogue at a high level between the board and the developer, not necessarily building a relationship, but just at least having an understanding early on that this is what we like to see. Here are the challenges, and we hope that you can address them. So I'm really taking a more active role, and I think a lot of the other economic development directors in the region are doing the same, because workforce housing is becoming such a high priority for all of us right now. So going back to the industrial and commercial activity, so there is a 290 acre solar development, a 55 megawatt development off of Route 3 on Bloomsbury Road. If you don't know where that is right off Route 3, right when you pass the Birchwood Power Plant. There's also the Eagles Nest Veterinary Hospital near Dolly's Court in the courthouse area. There's affordable RV that's going up on 301. I believe that business put that project on hold just because of the development cost or the building cost. I mean, you're going to see a lot of small businesses do that right now. It's just so expensive to build anything. And a lot of those plans, you know, if he started his plans a year ago, his cost probably increased by, easily 10%, right? Then there's Macho Creek Marina, where there's a new restaurant and the expansion of that marina going down in Dahlgren. Fattest Concrete is a long-term KG industrial tenant, and they are expanding their storage yard. So what Fattest does, they manufacture the sound barriers that go on 95. So as you start to see more 95 construction, you'll see Fattest get more and more busy, and you'll start seeing those barriers come out of that facility all week long. There's a community storage expansion going down in Dahlgren off Owens Drive. And then there's a planned Dollar General in the Passapatanzi area. If you're familiar with the Passapatanzi area, that's the far west side of the county, closest to Stafford. There's hardly any commercial activity up there, so I'm pretty sure the residents will be happy to see that Dollar General in that area. And then there's 1126 Yoga, a new yoga studio going in the courthouse area. That's also near Dolly's Court. I'm very excited to see those guys or those ladies there open up that studio. Those type of amenities are definitely needed to sort of retain that workforce in the county. So this is the, I guess this is the slide I was talking about. So there's a lot of planning and activity going on in the county. And so I just wanted to give you guys a breakdown of what we're looking at, because a lot of these things is going to really affect the county over the next 3 to 5 years, especially when it comes to economic development activity. So starting with the tourism strategic plan, we should have that completed in January of 2022. This is something my department and the Tourism Advisory Committee has been working on for about almost a year now. We did not hire an outside consultant. We kept it in-house. And really what we're trying to focus on is outdoor recreational and historical storytelling. And that sort of leads us down to another bullet. I'll skip some of these. But one of the things that we're working on to the right there's a Native American driving tour. So that's a collaboration with UMW, the Rappahannock and Patawamak tribes. So King George has a rich history with Native American tribes, and there really hasn't been there really hasn't been a way in which economic developers or tourism have really told that Native American story. One, because not every locality or region has Native American history, but we do, right? And that's sort of our advantage. So we're going to try to play to that advantage. We think that there will be plenty of people out there, whether they're from Virginia or not from Virginia, that would like to learn more about these tribes. So we're going to set up a driving tour throughout the county, starting from the west side of the county that moves all the way to the Dahlgren district and out towards Belgrove. So I'm really thankful that the University of Mary Washington's Historical Preservation Department was willing to work with us, and thankful that the tribes were willing to work with them to tell their stories and sort of help us establish that. So moving below, going back to the left side here, the zoning and subdivision overhaul. So the Board of Supervisors directed Community Development Department to look into overhauling our entire zoning. So if you've ever tried to build anything in the county, you know that the zoning ordinance for King George is really outdated. It's very simplified, but that's because it was put together in the late 1980s, or it was redone in the late 1980s for that time of industry and that, point in time for the county. So there isn't a whole lot of industries listed there, which puts us at a pretty big disadvantage when it comes to recruiting business or when it comes to just developing homes or houses, right? So we're going to be updating that. I know they've already had those planning meetings. There's been a survey put out from the community to get their feedback on it. So, me as an economic developer, I'm very excited about that. I'm very happy to work with them to get that done. The only issue is that completion time frame is somewhere around the spring of 2023. So love to have it done sooner rather than later. But, things like this, it's a big undertaking for a county. But it's really going to shift, or at least assist the way the county grows up over the next few years. Then I'm sure everybody's aware of the Dominion Broadband Pilot Project. What you might have missed was that we also submitted a 2022 VADI grant to the Department of Housing and Community Development. So if we're able to win that, or if we get awarded that VADI grant, the county could potentially reach universal coverage by 2023. That's everybody in the entire county will at least have access to internet. Doesn't mean that they will have it directly connected to their home, but they will be at least within, a certain distance from a fiber line or a cable line to where they can have internet. And so those who don't have connections will continue to work with them to get them connected. But this VADI application and the Dominion Broadband Pilot Project will have direct connections to the home. So anybody in those territories or in that service territory will have connections. So, and obviously any new subdivisions built will be able to have those connections as well. So very excited about this. Just those two things, back to back there, the zoning change and that Dominion Pilot Project, Broadband Pilot Project, are just so substantial and significant, especially for the economic development of a county. So next I'll talk about the tourism destination videos. So again, going back to the tourism strategic plan, we really want to become somewhat of a tourism force in the region. We'll never probably compete with like a Fredericksburg, Richmond, or DC, but we really feel like we can at least stand on an outdoor recreational corner, claim it, and bring that asset to the region, right? So if you have the Civil War side of it, you have George Washington's boyhood home. There is activities that you can do in the city of Fredericksburg, but what they can't offer is, the Dahlgren Heritage Railroad Trail or the sightseeing and the trails that are in Caledon. They can't offer the boating experiences that King George can offer on the Rappahannock and the Potomac. So, and so we want to try to highlight that through these tourism videos. So we're hoping, we're not hoping, well, the RFP is out. We have a firm that we want to work with. So we're going to try to get those videos done by spring and fall of next year. So my department, as well as the Tourism Advisory Committee, is pretty excited about that. And the other part of that is that we should be getting ARPA funds, approximately $30,000 to $40,000 of tourism funds from the state that could assist with the making of those videos, or we may use them to support the Native American driving tour that we're working on now. The other part of this is another thing is on the Regional Industrial Facilities Authority. So this is a regional authority that my department, the Fredericksburg Regional Alliance, which is an investor, I believe, well, which is a partner with FAAR in the city of Fredericksburg, is working towards to establish an organization that can identify industrial property within the region that can be developed for large-scale economic development projects. So what the REFA can do in its simplest form is acquire land. You can bond out to have that land developed. And on top of it, if you do anything through a REFA, you receive additional state incentives for your project. So it's really just a tool in the economic development toolbox to attract larger businesses and to develop larger industrial properties. So that's a regional initiative we've been working on for quite some time now, and it looks like it's going to come to fruition. So next is the King George County Schools Strategic Plan update. My department has been working with them, as well as all the other community partners to really work towards that. And what I'm really trying to do is push onto the school system an ability to be flexible and adaptable to outside industry. So, and not just county industry, because a lot of the county industry is so DOD focused, but be a little bit more adaptable to the regional industries and what they look like. And then on top of that, what are the future industries? So working with them to discuss what are the targeted industry sectors for King George County going into the future. So they have an understanding of that, so they can build out their CTE programs, sort of understand the type of industries they could be seeing moving to the county in the future. So it's a pretty important plan for my department to be a part of. And I'm happy that the schools were willing to invite me and take my feedback. So another thing, sort of to toot my department's own horn here, we've been able to at least assist with putting under contract or option approximately 757 acres of economic development property in the county over the last 2 years. So our entire industrial park right now is under option or under contract, and the land around it is under option. So it doesn't mean that these are going to straight turn into economic development jobs and investment. But what it does mean is that, we have limited space right now for industrial property in the county. So, if all of these, if all that acreage turns into projects and they start moving dirt, that's awesome. It's a great thing. It's a great thing for the county. But the next thing we need to start doing is sort of looking at what other places we could potentially develop in the county for economic development and industrial development for the county. I already went over the Native American driving tour, the Birchwood Power Plant, for those of you who don't know. Birchwood Power Plant decommissioned last year. And now we're looking at, what do we do at that site currently? How do we redevelop it? And, can't really go into too much detail, but what we're looking at are heavy industrial users, heavy industrial manufacturers, and then potentially new generation power plants. And, sort of figuring out what that industry looks like for the future. And we're also going to be amending our economic development strategic plan. Our targeted industry sectors right now currently are metal fabrication, greenhouses, obviously public services or public admin, DOD, and research and development. So current private industries that exist in the county, and then trying to build off, where we have our strongest workforce in the county as well. So some of the recent successes that we've seen in the county is for a $500,000 grant that our department wrote for the National Park Service to replace the roof of our historical African-American high school, Ralph Bunch. And then we were also awarded a $5 million Arpa Grant from the Department of Environmental Quality to address our raw water needs. So coming towards the end of the presentation here, so some of the upcoming events that we have is Smart Ag. This is with the Go Virginia grant that we work with Stafford in the city of Fredericksburg on. That's tomorrow at the Ellie Smoot Library. That's from 12 to 1. You all are welcome to come join us. And then this Saturday and Sunday, there's a Caledon Art and Wine Festival from November 6th to 7th from 10 to 5 p.m. And then November 10th, there's the King George EDA Business Appreciation Reception. That's November 10th from 5 to 7. And then there's the ribbon cutting for 1126 Yoga, November 13th at 10:30 a.m. That's it. I know I went over a lot. I probably talked too fast too.
No, this is great. No, so I know that our folks are not shy, so I definitely want to have them weigh in. But I've heard so much about the Ralph Bunche School over the years. What is your vision? What do you think would be a great fit for that location? I know it's got challenges because it's old and trying to rehab buildings can often be more expensive than building from the ground up. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know I gave you guys a lot of information. There's a lot of backstory to a lot of the stuff I gave you. But so Ralph Bunche, when I first heard about it, I thought this would be a great place to have, a community college workforce center, right? So whether Germanna or RCC, they're both in our service territory. I would have loved for one of them to come in and to, invest in that building and turn it into a workforce center or a community college campus or something like that. But there's just so many challenges, and then that requires state funding, and you get the General Assembly involved and all that. So I know that the county tried to get private investors, and I think they're going to try that route again as well, to invest in it and potentially turn it into either a community center, or it could be like a mixed-use development or something like that. I've always thought that giving some of the initiatives that we're working on through Go Virginia, it could be like an innovation center or some sort of hub like that, feeding off of the Dahlgren Tech Transfer initiatives, and all that entrepreneurial activity, right? It could remain in the county's control, but it's trying to figure out, what that private use is to sort of sustain, the existence of the building, because I don't know if the county has the funds right now to rehab it, and then just to keep it open. But there's a lot of other examples out there. I believe Culpeper County applied for a DHCD grant to turn theirs into a commercial kitchen. So there's a lot of different ideas and a lot of things floating out there, and we're open to all of it. There's not an idea I don't think that we would listen to. It's just that when you have, we have alumni association that represents it, and on top of it, it's county owned. You really just want to get the highest and best use out of it, and make sure that the public feels good about it too. So, especially when you're dealing with an historical African American building.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. Questions from folks who are out that way?
I saw Dixie on here. I know Dixie has a question.
She just unmuted. So Dixie, go ahead.
I just unmuted, Nick. I couldn't let you go.
I know.
Now that our properties have been reassessed and they've been jacked up quite considerably, do you have a feel for or hear anything about what the tax rate might be for next year?
Ooh. No, I haven't heard any. To be honest with you, there's been no internal discussion as far as like department heads go about what the county is going to do. I would think, well, I'm not even going to say what I think because it's really, because it's a board decision, and they need to have and they probably need to have a conversation with the Commissioner of Revenue, to be honest with you. I know that, even my department received calls on it. And I believe the assessors did something like a 4-year projection as well. So it's current value plus what they think it's going to be in 2025. So I know it gave people some sticker shock, but for me, under my understanding, looking at what homes are selling for in the county, and the potential growth in the county, I don't think it's that far off, but I guess that's something you have a right to argue. So.
Okay, second question. why did they decide on the west end of the county as opposed to the east end of the county that's poorly underserved for internet?
Yeah.
Very poorly underserved, like where I live.
They're pulling the fiber lines from Fredericksburg, and I think that's why.
Okay.
So they're not building out the infrastructure from the west to the east that way. I think they're sort of building it out using, the paths of least resistance. So you'll see construction, it may be happening on the west side of the county, and then you may see it happening in Richmond County, and you may see another part of it happening in Westmoreland County, all simultaneously, right? And I think they're just sort of getting to it in sectors the best way they can. So why start from that side? I really just think that the fiber line that they're pulling from Fredericksburg to serve our area, they're just going to start there, and they're just going to start working their way down. That was the last update that I received from them, probably back in September, August timeframe. And we really haven't heard anything other than, we're going to start construction in December. So, and a lot of that, the construction side of it is probably really, it's based on the weather and how it's gonna agree with them or not.
Okay. All right, and third and last question. What's this I saw in the paper about getting drinking water from the Rappahannock River, putting in a grant to get that?
Yeah, so that was what I shared earlier. Of course, now I'm trying to go back and I can't. That was the Arpa grant that I was discussing.
Arpa,
the $50 million grant. Yeah. So the county was one of 58 localities that received this grant money. And that money is supposed to be used or will be used to assist with the development of a raw water source. And there's no greater source right now near us than the Rappahannock. And I saw some comments about the grant, basically saying, why not look into this other source? Why not look into that other source? But the reason why the Rappahannock is so perfect for King George is because we're in a very deep part of the Rappahannock River, and it's not brackish at all. So there's no salt water in that area. And then as you start to move even more west, the water levels get lower. So we're just in this perfect spot. Us in Caroline County are just in this perfect spot where we can draw water off of the river, and it won't affect it at all. I think the number that the gentleman from either Caroline County or DEQ used was like 1%, right? So going back to that development question, I mean, it's not just housing needs, it's also commercial and industrial needs. There are certain projects that I've seen come through my department, and I can't compete on them because we don't have the water to compete on them. It is not a high water usage. It's something pretty standard for industrial development or just when it comes to manufacturing. So if we can get this water source together, whether it's pulling from the Rappahannock, because it doesn't have to be pulling from the Rappahannock, but it's just the obvious choice. They could also look at doing a reservoir or something like that. But the Rappahannock just makes the most sense right now. If we can get that together, then, we would be in such a good place because we have all this, raw land, developable land in and around that part of the river and in the county. And, we'd be set. There's no other way to put it. We just be ready to rock and roll as far as economic development and commercial development goes. I hope that answers your question.
Sort of. When I have one more, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I don't mean to monopolize everything. Any update on natural gas to the industrial park?
Yes. So I got a quote from Columbia Gas, and that number is $28 million to pull that gas line. And so that the realtors understand, the other realtors in the on the call understand. So we have an industrial park that basically has everything you need there, right? We have water, although not a significant amount. We do have water there. We have broadband there. The lots are laid out specifically for these advanced manufacturing, heavy industrial users. We have a rail line there. Everything is there except for the gas line. Problem is that the manufacturers, or those heavy manufacturers that you want to go after, they need gas in order to make the products. So without it, we miss out on a lot of different projects. And there's been discussion for a long time, at least a decade or so, is the county going to fund it? Or are we going to wait for that big end user to come in and, we'll piggyback off of their investment to get the line here? The issue is that the line that we need, so there's a medium pressure line in Ferry Farm, which is less than 10 miles from the industrial park. And then there's the high pressure line, which we need, which is called a loop, which is on the other side of the river in Spotsylvania County. So if Columbia Gas was to decide to do anything, or if the county were to decide to do anything, we're not going to bring in a medium pressure line. We want to bring in the high pressure line. But Columbia Gas had no plans to expand that high pressure loop. And I don't think they do have plans until about 2023, 2025 to expand that loop. So, we're sort of at the mercy of their time frame and the cost of construction if the county were to go after it. It doesn't mean that, I don't work on trying to recruit them, because I think if there's a user that's big enough, they would come to the county, and Columbia would probably move quick to get the line there, 18 months to 2 years to get the line there. But, we're just at a severe disadvantage given where the high pressure line is. We're just at a severe disadvantage. So where the high pressure line is and the cost to get that line to the county. So, when I saw the number, I was pretty shocked, because I believe they could have done it 10 years ago for about 10 to 5 million. So you think about that cost, tripling like that, almost quadrupling over the past 10 years. It's just wild. So yeah, we've looked at it. We looked at it, Dixie. It's just expensive for us to do it on our own.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Those are great questions. Thank you.
It was.
Other questions? Anybody else?
No.
Well, Nick, it's always great to have you. Oh, Randy, go ahead.
Well, a little late on the question, and I'm not a real King George aficionado, but it seems to me like there was a controversial golf course development around Fawns Cliff or something.
Uh-huh.
Is there any kind of update on that?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So it's two. So I believe the project you might be talking about was like the hunting club. Is that what it was?
Correct.
Yeah. So I just know that they went to the board, or they went to the planning commission for approval, and they voted it down. And then that gentleman sold that site, that old golf course, to another person who's trying to, I think he's trying to subdivide it and put homes on it. But I haven't seen any formal plans come through to the county. So you can build homes in the county by right on agricultural land, but if it's A1 or A2, like I think this parcel is, you can only build on like 10-acre lots. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right. Any other questions? I feel like the perennial questions are always like, when is there a Chick-fil-A coming? Or...
I know. So, and I get those questions all the time. And it's not that I get calls from, I'm glad you said that, because I have to answer this question a lot. One lady that asked me the other day, she said, why does the power keep going out at my house? And I wasn't trying to be, snarky or anything, but I was like, have you ever lived in the country before? I'm like, these things just happen. Now, there's so many trees around these power lines that it's just so easy for the power to go out in King George. That's not an excuse. I'm not trying to make an excuse for Dominion, but these things happen, right? But going back to the Chick-fil-A question, so the area that we need these restaurants, or that we need that Chick-fil-A, they probably want to be near the courthouse, near the high school. So if you've ever driven through that courthouse area, it's all residential property. It's all homes. Where you would have like these prime restaurant locations, they're all owned by private residents. So that only leaves a handful of locations that they could go. And I don't think that the parcels that they want to be on, or that the parcels that are available, are large enough for that location and the parking lot. So it pushes them back towards either the Hop Yard development, or it pushes them further towards the 3 and 301 development, or they have to go down in the Dahlgren district, which I don't think they would be opposed to, just talking Chick-fil-A or any other restaurant, which I don't think they'd be opposed to going down in the Dahlgren district. But I know that those type of locations, if they can get into an area where we hardly have any restaurants, like that courthouse area, I think that's where they'd probably rather be. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any last comments or questions?
I King Georged everybody out. They've had enough.
We got to get Randy out there. We got to, you know what? I did our PAC fundraiser. I'm doing the same one next year. It's at the estate at Whitehall.
Nice.
We'll get Randy out to King George again. Make him a King George aficionado.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nick.
And everybody on the call, you all are welcome to join us for the EDA Business Appreciation event on November 10th. Please, if you guys are available, come out and join us.
Well, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. And hey, everybody, if you have any follow-up questions, you know where to find Nick. And Nick, would you mind sending me your slides so I could share them with folks? I got a couple asks for that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah,
all
no
right.
problem.
Well, thank you all. I'll let you go a little early this afternoon. And